Welcome back to all of my amazing students and incredible subscribers. So good to see you guys again. First, we're going to read a story. Yeah, I will read the story quickly to you the first time. It will just take a couple of minutes. You can sit back, relax, and listen. Then, in part 2, we will have a vocabulary breakdown, taking a closer look at some of the more challenging language, some of the more difficult words used in the story, and make sure we understand all of it very clearly. Then, in part 3, we will have a deep dive into the story. Yeah, we'll go back and take a closer look, going line by line, sentence by sentence, to make sure we understand everything crystal clear. But what's the point of learning a story and learning new words and new expressions in English if you can't use them, right? So in part 4, the final part of today's video, we will have discussion questions and speaking practice. I will ask you a big question related to the story, and I will show you how to speak, how to talk, how to respond to this question, and we'll get some spoken English practice. If all of that sounds good to you and you're ready to jump in, click like on this video to support me as your YouTube English teacher. Leave me a comment letting me know your story. Why are you learning English? And most importantly, make sure you watch this video to the end because that's what makes it a real deep work lesson. Today's story is a true story, and there was a very good movie made about this story called Dangal. It's a story out of India. Beautiful story, beautiful movie. I highly recommend you guys go watch the movie at some point. But let's jump into today's lesson with the quick read. So once again, all you need to do, sit back, relax, and listen. I will read the story to you quickly. If, some of it is a little confusing or there are some words that you don't completely understand, that's okay, because later we will make sure everything is crystal clear. So let's take a look. The story behind Dangal. Have you ever had a dream that seemed impossible because no one around you believed in it? This is the story of Mahavir Singh Bhogat, a man who defied all odds to turn his daughters into world-class wrestlers in a society that didn't believe women belonged in the wrestling ring. Now, Mahavir was a former wrestler who never got the chance to win a gold medal for India, but he didn't let that dream die. He decided that his future sons would fulfill that dream. Here's the twist. Mahavir didn't have sons. Instead, he had daughters. In a country where girls were expected to stay at home and get married, Mahavir dared to train his daughters, Gita and Babita, to become wrestlers. At first, the entire village mocked him. They couldn't understand why he was making his girls do what was considered a man's job. But Mahavir was determined. He put his daughters through intense training, often pushing them harder than they thought they could handle. The girls faced many challenges, including a lack of support and harsh criticism, but they never gave up. Gita and Babita didn't just learn to wrestle, they became champions. Gita went on to win India's first ever gold medal in women's wrestling at the Commonwealth Games, and Babita followed in her footsteps with her own successes. When push came to shove, Mahavir's belief in his daughters, despite all the obstacles, changed their lives and made history for India. Their story is not just about wrestling, it's about breaking barriers, challenging stereotypes, and proving that anyone can achieve greatness. Awesome stuff, guys. That was a quick look at today's story, the story of Dangal, okay? I believe Dangal means wrestle in Hindi. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's where that word comes from. So what we're going to do now is jump into the vocabulary breakdown. There were probably some words and phrases that felt a little bit challenging in that story, right? So now we're going to take a close look at them, starting with here's the twist. Here's the twist. It's a phrase, a very useful phrase when you're telling a story in English. Okay, so here's the twist. You say that at the unexpected part of the story that changes everything. Okay, the surprising part in the story that you didn't expect. It's unexpected, right? You didn't expect it. The turn in the story. Okay, so these are synonyms or similar ways of expressing, of saying this idea. Here's the twist, okay? Antonyms or opposite words might be a predictable outcome. Predictable means you know what is going to happen. Okay, if you're watching a movie, you think, okay, these two, this man and this woman, they don't like each other right now, but I know they're going to end up together. They're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. They're going to be involved with each other romantically, right? It's so predictable. It's so predictable. I don't even need to keep watching and I know what's going to happen, right? An outcome is a result. Yeah, so if the ending of a movie is predictable, then you knew what was going to happen all along. It was expected. You expected it to happen, okay? So anyway, those are antonyms or opposite ideas, opposite words, okay? But what we're talking about is an unexpected twist, okay? An unexpected development in the story. Development is just a fancy way of saying something happens, something big happens, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this orange sentence, this orange example sentence. It's taken from today's story. Here's the twist. Mahavir didn't have sons, he had daughters. So in Mahavir's mind, right, he always expected to have sons. He always assumed, we could say assumed, he would have boys, right? When his wife gave birth, he would have boys, not girls. And here's the twist. Here's the twist. Here's the unexpected thing. Here's the part no one expected, right? He had daughters, not sons. So that's why we can use this expression. Here's the twist. Twist, right? Here's the thing you didn't expect, okay? Here's another example sentence unrelated to the story. Here's the twist. The hero was actually the villain all along. Ooh, wow, that sounds like an interesting story, right? You thought the hero was the hero, but actually, here's the twist. Here's the part you didn't expect. Here's the big reveal. A big secret is exposed or revealed or shown, right? Here's the big reveal. Here's the twist. Actually, the hero was the villain all along. What's a villain? The bad guy, right? Hero's the good guy, villain's the bad guy. So down here, you guys know I love to draw pictures. I'm going to draw a picture of Mahavir from our story, okay? And I don't really know what he looks like, but maybe something like this. And Mahavir is daydreaming about a baby boy, right? A baby boy. And, he loves that idea of having a baby boy. But what actually happens, here's a picture of him looking shocked, right? He's really shocked. Oh no. He's really unhappy with this turn of events, with this big reveal. What he actually gets is a baby girl, right? So here's a baby girl, and he is not happy about that. Now, if you guys are members on my channel and you are following along at home with your PDF, all members on my channel get PDFs for my lessons, by the way, then you can draw this picture or you can draw something else that helps you better remember this expression. All right, let's move on to the next one. Our next word, our second word is defy. Defy. Okay, it's a verb. It means to go against something or someone. To go against. We could also say to challenge something or someone, to resist something or someone, to oppose something or someone, to take a stand against. Maybe we could also say take a stand. You stand up to something. You stand up against something, okay? Basically, there is a person or an idea that you disagree with. You don't agree with this idea, so you decide to defy it. You say, I don't like this. I disagree. I'm challenging this. I'm resisting this. I'm opposing this. I'm going against this. I'm taking a stand against this, okay? Those are all synonyms. Antonyms, opposite ideas, opposite words might be to obey, to do what someone says, to follow, to be a follower. We might also say to be a sheeple. That's kind of a fun word. A sheeple. It's like people plus sheep, right? You don't want to be sheeple. You don't want to be a follower. You want to be able to think for yourself, right? Comply. Comply, to agree, to obey, to follow. These are all antonyms. They mean the opposite of defy. So let's take a look at the two example sentences, right? Orange from the story. Mahavir defied society's expectations by training his daughters to wrestle. Okay, now maybe we should talk about wrestling. Do you guys know what wrestling is? It's a combat sport, right? So two people are struggling against each other. They want to pin the other person down on the ground, right? If you can flip the other person or slam them or pin them down on the ground, then you get some points, okay? So it's a very, very intense physical combat sport, and that's why traditionally it was done by men. But in this story, we can see that the father of these two girls, Mahavir, he is defying society's expectations. Society, the world we live in. The world we live in. Okay, the world we live in and the rules of that society, the expectations of that society, the way society wants us to be, and the things that society wants us to say and do, right? Mahavir defied these expectations of society, right? How did he do that? He did that by training his daughters to wrestle. Yeah, very seldom seen. Seldom seen. Very rare to see. Rare to see, right? You don't see it every day. You definitely don't see it every day. And this story is from India many years ago. So back then, it was especially rare. It was extra rare. All right, here's another example sentence unrelated to today's story. She decided to defy the odds and start her own business. Okay. She decided to defy the odds. Yeah, okay. Maybe the odds are stacked against her. The odds are stacked against her. Okay. That means her chances of success are very low, very slim. Very marginal chances for success, very low chances of succeeding, right? She wants to start her own business. Well, sorry to tell you this, most new businesses fail. So the odds are against her. It's not looking good. But she decides to defy these odds, these chances. She's going to challenge these chances, oppose these chances, resist these chances. She's going to stand up and say, I'm going to start my own business anyway. Okay, I have kind of a funny idea for a picture here. I'm going to draw a mother and father. Here's the mom, right? Here's the dad. And they really want their kid to eat healthy. So here's an apple on a plate. They want their kid to eat the apple, but the kid does not want to eat the apple. So what he's going to do is he's going to eat a candy bar instead. Look, here's a chocolate bar. He's going to defy his parents' wishes. That's another way we could use this word. You can defy someone's wishes. In other words, you can say no to the thing they want you to do, right? There is a thing someone wants you to do. You do not comply. You do not obey. You resist and you defy their wishes. Moving right along here. Oh, oh my gosh, my voice. Needed a little coffee there. My voice is starting to sound crazy. Another really useful word that we saw in this story is mock. Mock. Now, even if you know what this is, let's keep watching because it's always good to stretch our understanding and usage of words that we think we know, right? You can always find a new way to use something. Here's what it means to make fun of someone or something in a cruel way, right? In a really mean way. Cruel just means mean, like you are hurting someone and you don't even care, right? You have no sympathy for them. You have no empathy for them. Some synonyms might be to ridicule someone, to taunt someone, to tease someone. We could also say make fun. If you make fun of someone, right? And we have our opposite words as well. We have, on the opposite side, instead of making fun of someone or taunting or teasing or ridiculing or mocking them, maybe you praise them. Maybe you support them. Maybe you respect them. These are all really positive ways of interacting with someone, interacting or dealing with somebody, right? When you're talking to them, when you are, hanging out with them, if you praise them, you say good things about them. If you support them, then you help them. If you respect them, then that's a sign that you care about what they think and you value who they are and what they think, right? But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about mocking someone. And if you mock someone, you do not help them, right? You do not help them. You do not say good things about them. You do not value them as a person. In fact, just the opposite. You make fun of them. You're mean to them. So let's take a look at the orange example sentence from our story. The village mocked Mahavir for training his daughters. Mahavir has this big dream. He was a pro wrestler, a professional wrestler, and he had this big dream of getting a gold medal for India, right? He wanted sons to help him achieve that dream. He had daughters instead of sons, so he's training the daughters. And, this is very unconventional, as we talked about. This doesn't really happen in Indian society, especially back then. So the village or the small city where he lived, they mocked him. They made fun of him. They said, Mahavir. I hope I'm saying that name correctly, by the way. They say, Mahavir, you look ridiculous. Mahavir, you are a fool for doing what you're doing. You are really just an embarrassment. You are an embarrassment. You look ridiculous, right? So he got no support. He got no praise. He got no respect from the villagers. In fact, just the opposite. They ridiculed, teased, taunted, and mocked him. Now, taking a look at the green example sentence, he was mocked by his classmates for being different. Okay, maybe this boy we're talking about, he's different in a way that his classmates can't accept, or they are unwilling to accept. Maybe his classmates are being a bit close-minded, It's possible the boy has a learning disability. He has some kind of physical, a deformity or something like this. He's handicapped, or maybe he's gay, or maybe he's too short or too tall or too fat or too skinny. According to them, too tall, too short, too fat, too skinny, right? So whatever the reason is, he's mocked by his classmates. They make fun of him. They put him down. They put him down, right? They don't lift him up. They put him down. Okay, and in fact, I think that is the picture I would like to draw today. I'm going to draw some really mean-looking classmates. They're laughing and they're pointing. There's one. Here's another one laughing and pointing, not in a fun way, but in a very mean-spirited way. Mean-spirited. That means, your heart is not in the right place. Your thoughts, your actions, your intentions are not in the right place. You are doing it not to have fun. You're laughing not out of a place of fun, but coming from a place of cruelty, right? And we have a classmate here who the classmate has a very long nose, okay? And so his classmates are making fun of him. There's a tear rolling down his cheek. Oh, I feel bad for this kid. He's being mocked. He's being taunted because of his nose, teased, ridiculed, made fun of. This poor kid. Flying along, one more thing I'd like to talk about here in the vocab breakdown before we go back to the story for the deep dive. It's an idiom. You guys know I love idioms or expressions, sayings, right? I think they're so cool. This is one of the best parts of learning English is the idioms. They are so fun, right? So when push comes to shove, that's what we're talking about. This is, a really spoken English expression, a very colloquial expression, something people really say, okay? So what does it mean? The moment when decisions or actions must be made. In other words, at the crucial moment, at the pivotal moment, in a crisis, when you have to act in a crisis, okay? Let's take a look at these example sentences first to see if we can't understand a little bit better. When push came to shove, Mahavir's belief in his daughters made history. Okay? When push comes to shove, true leaders step up to the challenge. This is a great one right here. Let's focus on this. When push comes to shove, true leaders step up to the challenge. Yeah, anyone can say they are a leader. Anyone can put themselves in the position of being a leader when times are easy. Okay? In easy times when there are no challenges to their leadership, to their way of leading, then it's really easy for them to say, of course I'm a leader. Look at me. I am a leader and I lead and I'm good at leading because they're not being challenged, right? It's only when times get tough, when there is a big crisis, a huge problem, a really serious situation, that a true leader will step up. A true leader will prove their worth. In a crisis, when push comes to shove, a true leader will step up to the challenge. Okay, so for the picture here, I'd like to revisit our previous illustration, okay? And remember in the last illustration, we had some school bullies making fun of a kid with a big nose, right? Well, here's that kid with the big nose, and he's over here, and he's got a best friend. Look at this, a best friend, and this guy is gonna stand up for him, okay? We can see that he's putting his hands on his hips. He's saying, stop it. You guys, knock it off. Knock it off. Knock it off. What does that mean? That means quit doing this bad thing. Stop doing this bad thing. Knock it off, right? So when push came to shove, he proved himself to be a loyal friend. When push came to shove, he proved that he was a good friend to his buddy over here, the guy with the big nose, okay? When push came to shove, when his friend needed him most, he stepped up as a true friend. Wow, that was a really intense vocabulary breakdown. There was a lot that we learned there, so if you guys are still with me, give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing terrific, and you should feel proud because if you're still watching, then that means you are taking your English learning journey seriously and you are willing to make a big time and energy investment in yourself and in your future. Okay, now with parts 1 and 2 of today's video out of the way, let's go back to the story for the deep dive going sentence by sentence. Let's go. Have you ever had a dream that seemed impossible because no one around you believed in it? Okay, yeah, this should be pretty clear, I think, to us. It's asking a question to the audience. Have you ever had a dream? And the dream, it seemed or it felt impossible. It felt like it couldn't be done. Why did it feel like it couldn't be done? Because no one around you believed. Maybe they didn't think you could do it. So maybe that's true for you guys. You can let me know in the comments. Have you ever been in that kind of a situation where you wanted to do something, but no one around you supported you? No one around you believed in you? You can let me know in the comments. This is the story of Mahavir Singh Phogat. Once again, I'm so sorry if I get this name wrong. This is a pretty foreign name to me, so I'm trying my best. Anyway, we'll call him Mahavir, right? He's a man who defied all odds. Well, he defied all odds to do what? To turn his daughters into world-class wrestlers. Okay, let's start with that. If you are a world-class wrestler, that means you are one of the best wrestlers in the world. If you are a world-class chef, that means you're one of the best cooks in the world. I know that my students here on this channel are world-class students, right? You guys are some of the best students in the world, okay? And his daughters, he wants to turn them into world-class wrestlers, okay? In a society, what's the environment he wants to do this in? It's not a great environment because he's in a society that didn't believe women belonged in the wrestling ring. In this time and place, people more so believed that women belonged in these very diminutive, demure roles. In other words, they shouldn't get in the way of men and of what men want to do, right? They believe that, women should take care of the kids and should do the cooking and maybe have some smaller roles in society, but leave all the exciting stuff to men, right? Now remember, Mahavir was a former wrestler. A former wrestler. That means he used to be a wrestler, not anymore, who never got the chance to win a gold medal for India. Yeah, that was a dream of his that never came to fruition. Never came to fruition. Okay? If something comes to fruition, then it is realized. It is made real. It is turned into reality, right? But his dream of winning a gold medal for India, it never came to fruition. It was never realized. It never came true. But he didn't let that dream die. He kept that dream alive by deciding, he made this decision that his future sons would fulfill this dream. His future sons would fulfill this dream. They would make it a reality. They would bring it to fruition, okay? They would realize this dream in his place or for him. Here's the twist, though. We talked about this, right? Here's the part in the story that no one expected. Mahavir didn't have sons. Instead, he had daughters. So that was the big twist. That was the unexpected turn in the story. In a country where girls were expected to stay at home and get married very early at that, right? Mahavir, he dared to train his daughters. Here they are. Number 1, Gita. Number 2, Babita, right? So fun to say these names. Gita and Babita. Gita and Babita. I love that. He dared to train his daughters. He dared to train them. He stood up against these societal expectations of him and his family. These societal expectations for him and his family. Both are okay. Both ways of saying that are correct, right? Of his family, expectations of someone or expectations for someone, they mean the same thing. So anyway, he defied these expectations. He decides to train his daughters. Train them to do what? not to get married, not to stay home and take care of the kids, but to become wrestlers. Do something bold and daring that traditionally men did, not women. Now, at first, the entire village mocked him. They sneered, right? They laughed and prodded at him, taunted him in a nasty, mean-spirited, cold-hearted way, right? They couldn't understand why he was making his girls do what was considered a man's job. Okay, I think that should be pretty clear to us. But Mahavir was determined and he didn't give up. And it's great that he didn't give up because otherwise we wouldn't have a good story to tell and learn about, would we? Yeah. It's a good thing that he was determined. He had drive. He wasn't going to give up. It wasn't an option for him, right? Yeah, even though his neighbors and the other villagers, they sneered at him and mocked him and ridiculed him and taunted him, he didn't let it get to him. What does that mean? He didn't let it get to him. That means he didn't allow it to affect him. He didn't allow their opinions and what they thought about him to matter. He said, I don't care what you think. I'm going to do this. I'm determined to make this happen. So he put his daughters through intense training. Yeah, not just any sort of training, not just any kind of training, but very intense training. So it was very difficult, in other words. He often pushed them harder than they thought they could handle. Okay, so he pushed them beyond their limits, right? He was so determined that he knew he couldn't go easy on them. He couldn't go easy on them. He really needed to push them to better themselves, to improve themselves. Because remember, they're going to be competing with men. And sometimes these men were big, tough, strong guys. So he needed to toughen these girls up as well. The girls faced many challenges, including a lack of support and harsh criticism. Yeah, no one supported them. No one believed in them besides Mahavir, their father, right? And, even their mom, I remember in the movie, was pretty against this idea. The mom was like, come on, don't do this, Mahavir. Let's just, marry the girls off to a nice family, or maybe we could send them to school, but Mahavir says, give me 1 year. I remember this from the movie Mahavir. He says, give me 1 year. And if I can't make this happen in 1 year, I will give up on my dreams of wrestling forever. Okay? So these two girls, they don't get support from anyone but Mahavir, their father. And they also receive a lot of harsh criticism. People really have a lot of nasty, mean, hurtful things to say about them. Everyone's laughing at them, but they never gave up. Gita and Babita didn't just learn to wrestle, they became champions. Yeah, okay, they didn't just make a half effort. They didn't just become, decent or okay wrestlers. They became incredible athletes, incredible champions. Gita went on to win India's first ever gold medal in women's wrestling at the Commonwealth Games. Yeah, so Gita went on to win. That means, she kept going, and eventually she had this big success, this big victory at the Commonwealth Games, this big tournament, basically, right? And this was a really emotional part in the movie because remember, this is the first ever gold medal in women's wrestling. And it was very challenging. It was a very difficult journey getting there. But there's more good news. Babita, the other sister, followed in her footsteps with her own successes. So they both became very successful champions. They became incredibly talented, gifted pro wrestlers. When push came to shove, when times got tough, Mahavir's belief in his daughters, despite or in spite of all the obstacles, all of the barriers, all of the people and ideas and expectations, trying to hold them down, trying to hold them back from achieving success. Despite all of that, they changed their lives and made history for India. So we have a very happy ending to the story. Their story is not just about wrestling. No, it's about breaking barriers, breaking through obstacles, okay? Challenging stereotypes. What's a stereotype? This is a pretty big word, a pretty big idea, but very simply put, a stereotype is an idea that you have about a group of people, about the way they are. And oftentimes it's not true. Just as an example, women are bad drivers. That's a stereotype, right? But it's not a great idea to generalize. Another way to think about it might be generalizing. If you generalize about a group of people, you say, everyone in this group is this way, right? Everyone in this group is a certain way. Well, that might not be true. There are always outliers. There are always, exceptions, okay? And so you have to be very careful when you stereotype people because, yeah, it could be true. I'll admit that. It could be true, but, oftentimes it's not true. Anyway, and proving that anyone can achieve greatness. Anyone can have greatness. Anyone can bring their dream of greatness to fruition. They can realize their dream of greatness. Wow, guys, I love this story. It's so good, and you should really check out the movie. Okay, we just finished the deep dive. And if you're still with me, then let's move on and get some spoken English practice in as well. So here is a discussion question, a question that I have designed to help us reflect on the story and the themes of this story, or the ideas that we saw in this story, and dissect them or take a closer look at them. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk about them too. Right? And bonus points if you can use one of today's vocab words, right? So here's the question. What is a societal norm, should be norm, sorry about that you think is wrong and important to speak out against? What is a societal norm? Or in other words, something that is normal in society, you think it's wrong, and it's important to speak out against that idea or speak up against that idea. Now, I'm going to go first because this is a really big question and really difficult to answer, but I want you guys to push yourselves and really try. We are going to speak for a full minute. I want you to fill up that minute with your speech, with your ideas, with your response to this. So I'll go first and show you what I'd like you guys to try and do. Yeah, okay, so what is a societal norm that I think is wrong and I think is important to defy? Right? There's a vocab word, to defy, to speak out against. Well, I think one norm in society, coming from a male perspective, coming from a man's viewpoint, a man's perspective, is that men need to be these kind of Clint Eastwood style figures, very emotionless and strong, and they never show any signs of weakness. Right? I think that's really hurtful. And I think there are a lot of men who suffer from that stereotype of men, from that expectation for men, right? So that's something I want to speak out against. It's not wrong to be emotional as a man, to cry as a man, to show your soft side, your vulnerable side as a man. Okay, that was my 1 minute response to this big, crazy, difficult question. Now it's your turn. I know it seems scary and intimidating, but I believe in you. You can do it. Push yourselves. Go ahead. All right, guys, this has been another giant, jam packed, deep work lesson. If you're still with me and you're not a channel member, then I think you would really benefit from becoming a channel member. If you're watching my videos all the way to the end, then it's for you. Trust me, because if you become a member, you get PDFs for all of my lessons, okay? You can follow along at home and make your own notes, right? You can print it out and use it on paper, or you can use it digitally. But you don't just get PDFs for my lessons, you also get bonus lessons. I have hours of bonus content, including listening lessons and more deep work lessons, okay? Lots of fun stuff. So you should really consider becoming a channel member. How to become a channel member? Well, you can click join right here on YouTube or go to patreon.com/English with Connor. Once again, that's patreon.com/English with Connor. It's $5 to become a member. Guys, just think about how expensive private lessons are. I mean, I do teach private lessons and I have, clients who pay me $100 for an hour of private lessons. So trust me, this is a great deal. And more importantly, you are investing in your future, and important as well, you are supporting me as your YouTube English teacher. So guys, your support means the world. Right now, if you are in the middle of a big, long study session, keep going. I'm going to put another one of my videos up on the screen. Click on it. I'll meet you there. Let's keep going. Let's keep learning together.